Hello and welcome back to another match of Commander. This time I am playing Rhys. I see I only have one land in hand. I will mulligan that. Up here we have Arcadis the Strategist. And looking at my hand now, I think I'm going to keep this and give it a try. Up here we have Xyrus the Writhing Storm. And right down here we have Corvald, the Fey Cursed King. So we are now starting the first term, starting with Jimmy B over here. So here's Rhys if you want to see what those abilities were. Looks like they have played a tap land and passed it over. So I will draw, go to my upkeep. I'm going to go ahead and play Plains and also play Rhys. And then I will pass turn. As soon as awesome, they pass priority, so I can now pass. And up in the top right, if you want to see the chat, it gives you a little bit of an idea of what people are saying there. And really, that player passed without doing anything. That is very interesting. Land or missed a land drop on turn 1. We have a forest up here. After they played Fable's Passage, they ended up going and searching for a forest. Then we have a Spire Garden, which came in untapped because there's 2 or more opponents. And we now have a Llanowar Scout, which allows them to tap it to put in additional land onto the board. I have drawn Finale of Glory, great card for later on in the game. We will hold on to that. We're going to play a forest and get Citra Priest onto the board. And after that, I will pass turn. Up here I have Mycoloth. It has Devour 2, which is great in this token deck. And at the beginning of my upkeep, I create a 1/1 Brain Sapperling for each counter on Mycoloth. I'm going to say yes, this will always deal damage to my opponents whenever a creature enters battlefield under their control. I'm going to organize my hand here. I also have Sundering Growth in hand. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, then populate. It's only a 2-drop and it can be green or white that I end up paying. We have Akroma's Vengeance, which would allow me to destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments if I ever need to get that off, or I can also cycle it for 3. Looks like they're going to be using the extra land on their turn. And we also have a Skira Tribe Scout, which does a similar thing to Llanowar Scout. Then Finale of Glory, if you didn't get a chance to look at it, I have it right here. I can pay X and 2 white to create X 2/2 white soldier tokens with vigilance. If it's X is 10 or more, I create X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance as well. And back to my turn, I will draw. Ooh, that's a beautiful card. So we're going to pay 1. And going to get that onto the board. And with that ability, I'm going to look at the top 4, and I may put a creature card from among them onto my hand, which there was no creature card. So now I get to choose the order that they go on the bottom. And I will go ahead and pass the turn. And I see they did not end up missing their land drop that turn. They ended up actually getting a breeding pool. This turn they have an island. And now they have an arcane signet as well, which taps for any color in your commander's color identity. It's a beautiful card, similar to Command Sphere, but without that draw ability. We're now on to Piro's turn. And up here, their name is Dakon BB. So we have a forest, island, and a mountain, which are all 3 colors of this deck. And it looks like they have used that ability to put another land into play. So they are now at 4 lands on their turn 3, seeing how we started this match over here on Jimmy B's turn. Let's see what they do. Looks like they're going to play Laboratory Maniac. If they would draw a card while their library has no cards in it, they win the game. It's a 2/2 and costs 3 to put onto the battlefield. Such a Priest will trigger and ping them for 1. We're now on to Jimmy B's turn. They are using that ability to put another land onto their board, getting them up to 6 lands on turn 4. A great way to ramp out. They also have Mina and Den Wildburn. I apologize, I missed this. Allowing them to play an additional land on their turn, and they can pay 2 to return a land to its owner's hand and give a creature trample. And they actually have 7 lands at this time, which is really good for turn 4. And this is just a casual game of Magic, so there isn't anything too competitive with these decks. Such a Priest will trigger, ping them for 1 when their commander enters battlefield. And when he enters, they also have to sacrifice another permanent. And when he sacrifices a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Corvold and draw a card. That first ability does also trigger whenever he attacks. They have sacrificed their Verdant Catacombs to go search for a forest or swamp, causing another trigger to go on Corvold. And they have went and grabbed a forest. And they have also got a Lotus Field on the board. When it enters the battlefield, he has to sacrifice 2 lands, getting 2 more triggers on Corvold, but it does tap for 3 mana of any one color. We now have Seal of Primordium on the board. If he sacrifices it, which he is, he can destroy target permanent, which is going to destroy my Growing Rights of Itlimoc. Beautiful card to see destroyed there, but I guess it had to happen. We have a 4/4 coming across the board at Puro. And it looks like Puro chose not to block at all, so they ended up taking 4 life. And on to my turn, I will draw, go into my first main phase, and we're actually going to play the card I just drew, Healer of the Pride. Whenever another creature enters battlefield under my control, I gain 2 life. So let's go ahead and tap my 4 lands here. And when it enters, I have the Suture Priest trigger. We're going to say yes, we're always going to want to gain that life. And we will pass turn. If in the future I need to go ahead and change that decision, I can go ahead and come down here and reset my automatic answers. So we now have a plains that came into the board up in Dakon's board. And they have played Champion's Helm. When it, the equipped creature will get +2/+2, and if it's legendary, it also has hexproof. It's only 1 to equip. Very good card in Commander because all commanders are legendary. We have a mountain coming onto the board under Puro's control. Let's see what else he does this turn. He's going to combat, passes through combat, and passes the turn. And so now we're on to Jimmy B's turn. We have a Tectonic Edge coming onto the board. You can pay 1, sacrifice it to destroy a non-basic land, and the opponent has to have, or an opponent has to have 4 or more lands, which I do, and so does Puro. I do not have a non-basic land. There's only one other non-basic land on the board, which is over on Breeding Pool's side of, or it's Breeding Pool over on Dakon's side of the board. Tectonic Edge also taps for 1 colorless mana. We have Zetagos, God of Revels, coming onto the board. And so it will come on as an enchantment at this time, because it's currently only 4 devotion to red and green. And then at the beginning of combat on his turn, target creature gains haste and +X/+X, where X is that creature's power. Jimmy B can almost kill anyone on the board. He can swing for 18 commander damage this turn. Possibly more if there's something I miss. Or if he casts something. So we have an 18/18 Corvold with flying and haste. And let's see where that's gonna go. And that 18/18 is going at Corvold. The 4/4 is going over at Dagon. And whenever he attacks, I'm gonna sacrifice the permanent. So that's gonna make him end up being at 19/19. Because he has to sacrifice something. Pyro is casting a Beast Within to destroy that Corvold and end up giving Jimmy a 3/3 green beast. And when that beast enters, Citrus Priest will trigger and deal 1 damage to Jimmy. Pyro asks why him to be attacked, and Jimmy said that it looked like he had removal, so he wanted to kind of pull that removal out, which he did, and just get it out of his hand. Pyro said he's not the one that should be targeted right now, but it's kind of Jimmy's choice as to where he wants to attack. And right now, Jimmy is really the only one with a board state that scares me. Everyone else doesn't have much that would really... There's nothing else that really can do that much damage to me. With that Xenagos and his commander, that's a lot of damage that can be coming across. And Jimmy plans to give attention to everyone, it looks like, instead of just giving attention to Pyro, which it looks like he has also done in the way he attacked, sending 4 damage at Dagon as well. I have yet to get attacked, but I may get attacked here soon based on Jimmy planning to send damage all around. We're going to go ahead and play a Soul Warden. And Citrus Priest will trigger, giving me 1 life. Then Healer of the Pride will trigger, giving me 2 life. So I am now up at 44. We're going to go ahead and use Rhys' ability to pay 3 and create a Elf Warrior. So we're going to go ahead and put these abilities on the stack. Soul Warden will trigger, I will gain a life. Citrus Priest will trigger, I will gain another life. And Healer of the Pride will trigger, and I will gain 2 life. And at this point, I will go ahead and pass turn. So we're now up to Dakon's turn, up in the top left. He has played a Seaside Citadel, comes in tapped, but taps for green, white, or blue. And it looks like we're going to have a Wrath of God going ahead and destroying all creatures on the board. So we're now on to Pyro's turn. hero has played an island. He's sitting with 6 lands on the board. And he has played his commander. Whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one on their turn, create a 1/1 green snake token. When he deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each draw that many cards. That bag can definitely help others out, but also hurt others with all those snakes coming on the board. Unfortunately here, when that Wrath of God was cast, Xenagos actually has Indestructible, so it ended up not getting destroyed. We have the Gitrog monster. He's a 6/6, costs 5 to cast. He has Death Touch. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice him unless you sacrifice a land. And you may play an additional land on your turns. Whenever one or more land cards are put into the graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. This works very well with his commander, wanting things to be sacrificed, to go ahead and get his commander to be bigger than he was before, and get those +1/+1 counters on him. And I have a 12/12 coming at me because Xenagos gave haste to this creature. So with that, I will end up taking 12, going to 36. Looks like we are at end of combat now. Second main phase. We have Jimmy casting Nylaya's Intervention, choosing to search the library for X land cards, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your library. And in this case, X is 2. So Jimmy is going to go grab 2 land cards, put them into his hand, and then most likely put them onto the battlefield. We have a Wooded Foothills and a Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead has entered, creating a zombie. And Field of the Dead triggers again, creating another zombie. We have Wooded Foothills triggering the ability to search the library for a forest or a mountain and put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. Because a land was sacrificed, Gitrog monster triggered to draw a card, causing Xyrus to trigger as well, creating a 1/1 snake. We now have another forest on the board there. And that caused another zombie to enter the battlefield. So at this time, I think I'm going to go ahead and play Impassioned Orator. Unfortunately, I cannot destroy that Xenagos, so there's nothing else I can really do here. So I'm going to pass turn. So I could destroy Arcane Signet or the Champion's Helm, but those aren't really worth destroying at this time. I could also destroy Rakdos Signet, but I really prefer not to take out people's mana in the casual games. So we have a Thallid Shell Dweller coming onto the board. He's a 0/5 defender. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a spore counter on him. Remove 3 spore counters from Thallid and create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. We now have a tropical island entering the battlefield. It's a forest and an island, and it taps for green or blue. We also have Dagon's Commander coming onto the board. He's a 3/5 with flying, vigilance, and whenever a creature with defender enters battlefield under your control, draw a card. Each creature you control with defender assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, and can attack as though it doesn't have defender. On to Piro's turn, where he is casting Kami of the Crescent Moon. Each player is going to draw an additional card at their draw step. This is going to trigger Xyrus every turn because we're drawing 2 cards at the beginning versus just the 1. So every turn a snake will be generated. We also have an Eternal Witness. When Eternal Witness enters battlefield, you may return a card from your graveyard to your hand. And looks like they ended up returning Beast Within and putting that back into their hand. And I have a 3/5 flyer coming at me. And at this time, I don't have any flying, so I'm going to end up taking 3 damage. And when he deals combat damage to me and Pyro both draw 3 cards. And for some reason, I have not hit a land in quite a while on my draws. I'm hoping that's going to change soon. If I could get another land on my coming turn, I will probably end up fumigating, gaining quite a bit of life, and just resetting the board again, because I feel like I am very behind on this. We have a lot of snakes being created up in that on Pyro's board. So currently he has 6 1/1 snakes on his board. Jimmy has played a couple swamps, creating a couple more zombies from Field of the Dead. We have Corvold coming back onto the battlefield. Which he can swing at someone for 10 in the air immediately because of Xenagos giving haste and doubling his power. Because when he enters, he also has to sacrifice a permanent, which will most likely be one of those zombies. Yep, it was. And now he's going to get a +1/+1 counter, and Jimmy will draw a card, which triggers Xyrus, making another snake. We have a Chaos Warp that is going to cause the owner of target permanent to shuffle that permanent into their library, and then they reveal cards until they reveal the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, they put it onto the battlefield, which in this case it was. It's a Throne of the God Pharaoh. Beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life for each tapped creature you control. We are now on to Jimmy's turn. It looks like he's going to start Pyro for a total of 14, 16, 10 of which is commander damage. I apologize, we have been on Jimmy's turn, and he just went to combat. And when Corvold attacks, he sacrificed a zombie, and that gave another counter to Corvold, making him an 11/11. It looks like Jimmy feels that Pyro is the bigger threat of the other 3 of us. However, Dakon believes that Jimmy is still the biggest threat, and I agree with that. Currently, Jimmy is the biggest threat on the board. Jimmy is going to put a Lightning Greaves onto the board in his second main. And that's going to go ahead and get attached to Corvold, his commander. Draw my card and then my additional for turn. We are going to go Temple of the False Gods. Then we're actually going to do Akroma's Vengeance, getting rid of artifacts and enchantments as well as the creatures. And then we will pass the turn. And Jimmy is still that biggest threat with that Xenago sitting on the board right now. We have a hornet nest coming onto the battlefield, which when it's dealt damage, create that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and death touch. So basically creates a lot of hornets. We also have Riptide Turtle. It's a 0/5 flash defender, and it costs 2 to cast. Over on Pyro's board, he is going to cast his commander again and pass the turn. And we're now on to Jimmy's turn. He casts Terramorphic Expanse. And when it entered the battlefield, he created a zombie from Field of the Dead. He ended up grabbing a mountain with that Terramorphic Expanse, creating another zombie with his Field of the Dead. So currently, if you want to know what I had in my hand from that draw on Pyro's previous turn, not this last one, but the one before, I drew a Fumigate, which destroys all creatures, and I gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. Harmonize, it's a 4-drop sorcery that I can draw 3 cards. And Hooded Hydra, this is one of my favorite cards. It can be a really big guy that when it enters the battlefield with X counters on it. When he dies, create a 1/1 green snake for each counter on him. Or I could use his morph and instead have him become a 5/5 for 2 green and 3 after I pay the 3 to cast him as a morph. Looks like Jimmy is going to play Scape Shift, sacrifice any number of lands, search your library for that many lands, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. He's sacrificed almost all of his lands here. And what we have is a Orbog, Tomb of Yawgmoth, Phyrexian Tower, we have Stomping Ground, Emergence Zone, Cabal Coffers, which is very good with Orbog. We have Blood Crypt, Command Tower, and Luxury Suite. He's also going to play Awakening Zone. Beginning of your upkeep, you may create a 0/1 Eldrazi spawn with sacrifice this creature. Add a colorless mana. So we have a 4/4 zombie with haste right now. And he is going to attack me with that. And that will bring me down to 29. I will draw for turn. We will go ahead and play Reliquary Tower. We're going to cast Wildfield Border Post for its alternate cost, paying 1 and returning a land back to my hand, which I should have paid the 1 with that, but that was my mistake. I'm going to pay 2. Oh, gotta let that spell resolve real quick. Now we can go ahead and pay 3, I apologize, for my commander. And then we will go ahead and pass the turn. And if a artifact or enchantment comes up that we need to get rid of, we can Sunder and Growth it. We have a Shield Sphere coming onto the battlefield for free. It's a 0/6 defender. Whenever he blocks, put a -0/-1 counter on Shield Sphere. We also have a Swiftfoot Boots and High Alert. So with High Alert, each creature you control deals assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, and creatures you control can attack as though they don't have defender. You can also pay 4 to untap target creature. So we are currently on to Pyro's turn, or Pyro's turn. I am honestly not sure exactly how to pronounce that. We have him casting a Niv-Mizzet. Whenever you draw a card, Niv-Mizzet deals 1 damage to any target. And he can tap Niv-Mizzet to draw a card. He is also a 4/4 flyer. Pyro is looking to do some politics with allowing certain people to draw cards off of his commander. And looks like Pyro is still gonna attack Dakon, even though he never responded to that politic question. And so both of them are Dagon is going to end up taking 3, and Xyrus will trigger, making both of them draw 3 cards. This is very helpful for Dagon, as he was at 0 cards in his hand. He's now up to 3 here. However, this also creates 3 1/1 green snakes and deals 3 damage to any target, and he can choose separate targets for each damage. So currently he's going to kill my commander. He's going to hit Jimmy for 1 and hit Jimmy for 2. So I definitely think this next turn I'm going to fumigate, as I don't have any creatures to lose when I do that. It will also go ahead and gain me quite a bit of life. We have 10 creatures here that I would gain life off of. 5 creatures over here, and another 3 over here. So a total of 18 life just off of that. And Jimmy most likely will end up casting a few more creatures. So we currently have an Eldrazi spawn that just came onto Jimmy's board from Awakening Zone. Jimmy is casting his Commander Corvold again, which is extremely cheap for him to play for him, just because of all the mana he gets off of Cabal Coffers. It's not actually cheap, but he just gets a ton of mana off of that Cabal Coffers. He also has to pay 1 red and 1 green. But he still has 3 black mana floating. And he decided to sacrifice the Eldrazi spawn for his Corvold. When he did that, he also drew a card, causing Xyrus to trigger and create a 1/1 snake on Piro's board. We have a Golgari Signet coming onto the board, and also a Sylvian Soulkeeper. You can sacrifice land, target creature you control gains Shroud until end of turn. So I got a fairly large board state over here, and up here with Piro. Jimmy is still the biggest threat on the board at this time, though. Looks like Jimmy ended up choosing not to pump his commander. And it looks like he might have made a mistake here based on his comment saying he messed that up. And I have a total of 20 damage coming at me from all these, 22 damage coming at me from all these zombies. It won't quite kill me, but it will definitely hurt. Yes, it looks like he meant to choose Corvold, but accidentally hit a zombie instead, which would have ended up killing me if he had done that. I am most likely dead here soon. So on my turn, I definitely think I'm going to go with the Fumigate, just to try and do as much damage on my way out as possible. And we also have a Ghoul Signet on the board now. We have Kodama's Reach, gonna grab 2 lands, put 1 into hand, 1 onto the battlefield. And also creates another zombie. And then play a land for turn, creating another zombie again. And now it's on to my turn. So I will draw. And now first main, I'm going to play my land for turn and Fumigate. And I am back up to 30 life now. And I only have 3 mana left, so I think I'm going to pass the turn. Looks like Piro was planning to kill me, but because of that Fumigate, he was not able to. Oh no, he was planning to kill Jimmy instead. But that board wipe actually stopped him. So we're on to Dakon's turn up here. So he cast Wall of Tanglecord. It's a 0/6 defender, and he can pay 1 to give it reach until end of turn. He also has equipped the Swiftfoot boots to Wall of Tanglecord. And is going to swing at Jimmy for 6. This takes Jimmy down to 23. So we have a Magus of the Jar. It's a 3/3. You can, Piro can sacrifice it, and each player exiles all cards from their hand face down and draws 7 cards. At the beginning of the next end step, each player discards their hand and returns to their hand each card they exiled this way. Then we have a Chasm Skulker. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Chasm Skulker. When Chasm Skulker dies, create X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Chasm Skulker. We have land entering, causing Field of the Dead to trigger. And Corvald is going to come back onto the board. Leaving Jimmy with 4 swamp and 1 green, or 4 black, 1 green. So I had to sacrifice a land. So Corvald got a +1/+1 counter on it. And so far, Corvald has done 11 combat damage to Piro. Looks like Piro was actually leaving the game here. He had some other things he had to go do. So he has conceded at this point. And it will show that here in the next few seconds. Or it should. There we go. Looks like Jimmy ended up sacrificing the Eldrazi spawn to get another counter onto Corvold. And Jimmy has cast Secure Tribe Elder and Curse of Opulence, targeting Dakon. So we have Corvold that got targeted by Xenagos, doubling its power and toughness. And that is swinging at Dakon at this time, along with Xenagos himself as a 6/5. When Corvold attacks, he causes Jimmy to have to sacrifice a permanent. So Jimmy sacrificed Secure Tribe Scout, thus making Corvold a 13/13, and created a gold token from Curse of Opulence. And on to my turn, I will draw. We'll go Canopy Vista. And we're going to go ahead and cast Finale of Glory for 6. I was 1 off. I could have done 7. That was my bad. I miscounted. And I will pass turn. I just want to get some blockers on the board. We are waiting for Dakon to see what he's going to do. Looks like he's gone into combat, chose not to attack with anything, and has passed the turn. So now on to Jimmy's turn. Oh, we have an instant being cast at the end of the turn. Swords to Plowshares, exiling Xenagos. And Jimmy will gain 6. A very good move by Dakon there. Let's see if that's enough. Because currently, Corvold has done 13 damage to Dakon. He only needs 8 more to end up killing Dakon with commander damage. And with that now, his commander is large enough to be able to kill Dakon. However, Dakon does still have that wall of Tango Cord that can gain reach. We have Caustic Caterpillar coming onto the board, which is another thing that he can sacrifice to increase the power of Corvold. It only costs 2, and he gets to destroy an artifact or enchantment, which he is going to use immediately. It is going to destroy Dakon's creature so that Dakon will actually end up dying this turn. Or no, not his creature, the Swiftfoot Boots, because he can't target the creature because it had Hexproof. We had Jimmy sacrificing one of his lands to search for Mountain, Swamp, or Forest. We currently have Corvold as an 11/11. Looks like Jimmy is sacrificing both of his clue tokens. Go ahead and draw cards and also pump his creatures, both Tireless Tracker and Corvold, and draw an additional card from Corvold's ability. It looks like Jimmy actually has to go at this point, and he is going to end up passing the turn and conceding this game. Although it did look like he was in a position to win. So we will go on to my turn now. As soon as it passes over. Awesome. So my upkeep, draw, play my land for turn, and I think I'm gonna go Mycoloth. Because I don't have quite enough to kill Dagon at this time. And we are going to sacrifice all of my creatures to make Mycoloth a 16. 16. We will also go ahead and recast my commander. And we're going to pass turn. So at the beginning of my upkeep, I'm going to create 12 1/1 green sapperling creature tokens. Actually, no. We're going to destroy all creatures. So I think what we're going to do is instead go ahead and come here and cast this, my Hooded Hydra for 7. One more. There we go. We're also going to go Sundering Growth to destroy High Alert. And unfortunately, I cannot populate. So now onto Dakon's turn. Dakon only has one card left in his hand after playing that forest there. And I'm just explaining to Dakon that his creature died because it creates a copy of it, but it doesn't have the counters. Okay, so on to my turn. I'm going to go ahead and harmonize to draw 3 cards. We're gonna go Essence Boarding for 1. And Watley for 4. We're going to +1 Watley, going up to 6. And we're going to have all attack there. So Hooded Hydra attack, dealing 7 damage to Dakon, bringing him down to 6. And we'll pass turn and see what Dakon ends up top decking. And it looks like he top deck a land, but he is able to cast his commander. We're going to go ahead and go Explosive Vegetation and grab a couple forests. And then we're going to play Doubling Season and Skull Clamp. We're going to +1 Watley again, bringing Watley up to 11. And go ahead and swing with both my creatures. He will have to block the 7/7 if he wants to live. So I will at least get 1 damage through with Essence Boarding. So I have gotten 1 damage through, and I will go ahead and pass the turn. So we have a Wall of Junk that was played. It's a 0/7 defender. When it blocks, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. We're going to go ahead and play White Sun Zenith. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to play White Sun Zenith for 10 right after I actually ultimate my Watley, dropping it down to 3, giving me an emblem here. Whenever a creature you control enters a battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Now we're going to go White Sun Zenith for 10. We're going to go ahead and skip the stack, always saying yes. So I get to draw a lot of cards off of my creatures entering and also gain quite a few life. We're going to play my land for turn. And have all attack again. So now Dakin has one turn to figure out how to deal with my creatures. Otherwise, it will be game. And let's see what he top decked. He did top deck a creature, however that's not enough to handle the amount of creatures I had enter the battlefield. So I will go ahead and go straight into combat and attack with all. And that's the game. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, like and subscribe. Also, if you'd like, go ahead and comment below with your Discord name, and I can get you added to my Discord server. Thank you so much, and you have a great rest of your day.